Welcome to CNN 10. We are kicking off the second week of coverage of our fall season. We know a lot of you are just now getting back into the swing of things, so we thank you for doing that with our show. Hundreds of wildfires are raging in California. Here's a quick by-the-numbers look. CAL FIRE, the State Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, says there have been roughly 12,000 lightning strikes in California since August 15th. They've been blamed for starting most, if not all, of the 615 new wildfires that have flared up in the past week. More than 1,100,000 acres have burned, and firefighters are doing everything they can to contain these blazes. This doesn't necessarily mean putting them out. It means keeping them from spreading. That can be done by creating fire breaks, places where vegetation has been cleared out, for example, giving the blazes nothing to burn and nowhere further to go.
All right, guys, I'm going to get you out of here, okay?
Firefighters trapped on a ridgeline in California. The only way out is up.
No, I got to get you out of here, dude. It's like right there.
A helicopter crew braves gusting winds to scoop them away to safety.
See how close it is, guys?
A close call here, but it is a pitched battle across the state to put out more than 500 fires, many caused by lightning strikes. Officials say two of the blazes are among the biggest they've had in almost 90 years. More than 12,000 firefighters are battling the flames, many working 24-hour shifts. But so far, it is not enough manpower to hold back the fires, which have burned an area bigger than the size of Rhode Island. Neighboring states are sending help, but state officials say they need more.
We've also reached out across the border into Canada for resources and support. And many of you up here recall, I think it was 2017, some of the best wildfire firefighters in the world from Australia. We also have requests out for that talent as well.
Officials say there are too many fires right now to save some homes, and nearly 120,000 people have been evacuated, though some people are taking it into their own hands to protect their property.
When we got here, flames were all out in front, and halfway down my driveway. My house is set way back, so we just started getting to work, and we put the fires out, and so far we've saved it, but you never know.
In previous fire seasons, prisoner firefighters have been used to help contain the blazes, but authorities say there are fewer of those resources now because of early releases due to the coronavirus. Forecasters say dry thunderstorms are in the forecast, which could bring more lightning and strong winds to the region, making the job of those trying to stop these ever-growing wildfires even more dangerous.
Up next, and I'm Carl Azus. Welcome to everyone watching worldwide. If you're just now returning from a summer break, it's great to see you again. In the U.S. state of California, this gives you an idea of why the governor just declared a state of emergency. It applies to 5 counties in the central and southern areas of the state. That's where 3 wildfires are burning. They've chewed through tens of thousands of acres. They've forced thousands of people to evacuate, and they have destroyed some homes. Statewide, California has lost more land to wildfires this year than at any other year on record. More than 2 million acres have burned in 2020. And though the state has a wildfire season, which typically lasts from the spring through the fall, it often hits its worst point in October and November. So fire officials are particularly concerned about that. Over the weekend, California broke temperature records that have stood since the 1950s. Though it's been cooler than average in the central part of the United States, areas of the West have seen sweltering heat waves, and that can make wildfires worse. In the state's hot, dry conditions, lightning strikes have been blamed for causing many of the wildfires, but a party where a type of firework was set off is responsible for one of the recent ones. In addition to the round-the-clock efforts of the firefighters, the state of emergency declaration will speed up help and money to a remote location this week because our normal bookshelf spot was all booked up. And to start things off on CNN 10, we're heading out west, where large wildfires have been reported in 12 states. From Alaska to California to New Mexico to Montana and every state in between, more than 4.5 million acres have burned, according to the National Interagency Fire Center. It says that more than 30,000 firefighters and supporting workers have been deployed to the west to fight the blazes. At least 33 people have died in the region, and officials say dozens more are missing. California seems to be the hardest hit state at this point. It's the site of 24 wildfires, but 12 or more have been reported in each state of Idaho, Oregon, and Washington. These satellite images show you how the cities of Talent and Phoenix, Oregon have been devastated. Longtime viewer Michael Torgeson tells us that thousands have been evacuated in southern Oregon. 500,000 people statewide have been told they may have to evacuate. Like California, Oregon is no stranger to wildfires. The state's governor says they typically destroy 500,000 acres per year, but she adds that more than 1 million acres were lost in this past week alone. And neighboring Washington is struggling with its second worst wildfires in state history, according to its governor. Miles away from the fires themselves, there are problems in the air. Major League Baseball and the National Football League were monitoring air quality yesterday in advance of games played out west. Clean air centers have been opened in parts of California to give relief to people who have nowhere else to go. The problem can be seen as well as felt.
It's like the apocalypse right now. It's like nighttime in the daytime. They're saying it's coming all the way from Oregon, which is hundreds of miles away.
"11:15 in the morning, and it's like the middle of the night almost. So.
Second trivia. In metric units, which of these prefixes means billion? Kilo, mega, giga, or tera? These prefixes are in order of thousand, million, billion, and trillion, with giga denoting billion. But when it comes to wildfires, the term giga is used a little differently. A gigafire denotes a value of 1 million as opposed to 1 billion. The term has been around for a few years now, and it's been applied to several massive blazes throughout history, including one burning in California right now. It's called the August Complex Fire. It's mostly contained, meaning it's mostly blocked from spreading further, but the damage has already been done. It's part of a highly active fire season across the United States. This isn't the worst in national history, at least not at this point. The National Interagency Fire Center says since 1983, there have been 2 years when wildfires burned more than 10 million acres, and 2020 hasn't seen that yet. It's also possible that decades of fires before 1953 were much worse, but the NIFC says data from them isn't as reliable. Lightning strikes are responsible for igniting many wildfires. So are people, through everything from campfires to fireworks to arson. For the more recent blazes, especially the ones in California, some experts and politicians have blamed a warming climate for higher temperatures and more severe droughts, which makes severe fires more likely. Some experts and politicians have blamed bad land management, not doing enough to remove dense forest vegetation, which helps fires spread more easily. Whatever the causes are, CNN 10 contributor Tyler Malden explains the effects across the Golden State. Tyler.
Carl, California's largest wildfire ever recently became a gigafire. It's a term the U.S. hasn't had to use in more than a decade. I'm referring to the August Complex Fire in Northern California. It's taken the top spot for the largest fire in California history and has now burned more than 1 million acres. Once a wildfire burns 1 million acres or more, it gets coined as a gigafire. This is one notch above a megafire, which experts use when, as you may have guessed, a fire has scorched 100,000 acres or more. The country's most recent gigafire was the 2004 Taylor Complex Fire in Alaska. Before that, it was the Yellowstone fires in 1988. So this is yet another unfortunate superlative for an already record-breaking fire season. The U.S. has had tens of thousands of fires this year. Many of these have been large wildfires, leading to more than 8.3 million acres burned, way more than we'd see in a normal year. Half of that 8.3 million has occurred in California alone, making this year the state's worst year on record according to CAL FIRE. And speaking of the history books, this fire season has not only given way to the largest fire ever in California, it's also produced 5 of the 6 largest fires on record for the state.
From northern Washington, we're moving 2 states south to northern California, where wind speeds of 70 miles per hour were in the forecast Sunday. That makes wildfire conditions very dangerous, and that's why Pacific Gas and Electric shut off power to at least 386,000 homes and businesses. It's done this before. The company is trying to prevent its equipment from starting fires in the dry, windy conditions, and that can happen if power lines blow over, for instance. The winds flowing from east to west across northern California are called the Diablo winds. They typically blow from the direction of California's Mount Diablo, which is where they get their name. They can be at their worst in the fall, and what makes them so dangerous during wildfires is that they can both fan the flames and blow sparks to new areas, causing the fires to spread. Officials say the power shutoff could end Monday or Tuesday. In the western United States, millions of acres have burned in wildfires this year. Dozens of lives have been lost, and thousands of homes have been destroyed. An early winter storm is descending on some parts of the region. It could bring record cold temperatures with it, and as much as a foot of snow to the Rocky Mountain states of Colorado, Montana, Utah, and Wyoming, so that could help firefighters. For some of those who've lost their homes in the blazes, a CNN hero is continuing his work to provide shelter, one RV at a time.
When we got to Northern California, it's that apocalyptic feel. The tragedy is almost every home in this community was lost, and people don't know what they're going to do. And just having worked for the last 2 years with campfire survivors, we know what they're in for. My name is Woody Faircloth. I'm a 2019 CNN hero, and my daughter and I started a nonprofit called RV for Campfire Family. We've delivered over 80 RVs to residents of the Paradise area who lost their homes in that fire. And then just recently, these wildfires picked up again in the west with devastating results. And we heard about the fire in Berry Creek and how devastating it was because it's only 20 minutes from Paradise where the campfire was located. And unfortunately, this fire has really affected a lot of first responders. 6 of the 7 volunteer firefighters in Berry Creek, California lost their homes, including the chief. And so Luna and I did what we do. We sourced a couple of donated RVs and we headed out to California. We delivered one to Chief Reed Rankin.
I just can't say thank you enough, but thank you. I deeply appreciate it because we wanted to be coming on here another month and a half. At least we got somewhere to be.
He loves his community.
It's huge. I mean, I just don't have much words, but it's huge.
A couple thousand of his neighbors are left homeless. 15 people were killed in the fire, and they've been through a lot, but the chief's still out there every day on the line fighting the fire.
I can start over somehow. I just got to get everything done up here and get the fire completely out, get people back in to see the stuff, and then I can start trying to figure out what I'm going to do. But I'm definitely staying in Berry Creek. I'm definitely going to somehow rebuild. Hopefully FEMA will help us out.
One of his firefighters we helped, Catherine, she told me that they drove by her house and it was fully engulfed in flames.
We were driving through, trying to get people evacuated, drove by my house. I said, bye house, and kept going.
She had moved into a shed as temporary housing after losing her home, and we don't think that should happen with people who are out there putting it on the line for us every day.
This is so wonderful. More than words can say. This is just awesome.
We changed our name to emergencyrv.org, and we've kind of opened it up to anywhere that someone's affected by a natural disaster where emergency and temporary housing is needed. Our biggest need is for RVs. You can donate those to emergencyrv.org and we'll get them deployed right away.
Second trivia. Which of these Halloween-themed movies was released first? The Nightmare Before Christmas, It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, Ghostbusters, or Hocus Pocus? It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown was released in 1966, making it the oldest movie on this list.